The Evil Within was a flawed survival horror game. While it brought some unique psychological horror and survival elements to the table, it was hampered by a disjointed story and graphical issues. When it was released back in October 2014, it wasn't even a blip on my personal radar, but after receiving it as a gift I found myself enjoying the experience that The Evil Within brought. 3 years on, and Bethesda have brought a new installment of the franchise with The Evil Within 2. I'm Darcblade, and this is our video review of The Evil Within 2. Developed by Tango Gameworks and published by Bethesda Studios, The Evil Within 2 was released in October 2017 for Xbox One, PS4 and PC. The Evil Within 2 is an ambitious survival horror game that focuses on psychological horror as well as the survival third-person shooting horror found in numerous other horror games in the industry. With a baseline laid out by The Evil Within, can Evil Within 2 expand and give us something great? Let's find out. As with most of my reviews, I'll try to avoid major story spoilers as best as we can. The story of The Evil Within 2 takes place 3 years after the events of the first game. You continue in the role of Sebastian Castellanos, who has now left the Crimson City Police Department. However, he continues to be haunted by the disappearance of his wife Mira and the death of their daughter Lily. On top of that, his experiences of the Beacon Mental Hospital, the location of the first game, constantly plagues his thoughts. The game starts off with Sebastian being approached by one of his former partners, Kidman, who is also an agent of Mobius. Mobius is a sinister organisation behind the scenes, manipulating countless individuals and businesses. On top of that, they are in a way responsible for the creation of the mind-altering STEM machine. Distrustful of her, Sebastian agrees to help Kidman when she reveals that his daughter Lily is still alive and inside a STEM machine. Her death was a ruse by Mobius in order to create a pure core for another STEM machine. STEM machines basically unite and link everyone's consciousness into an alternate world. Whilst in the real world, you're not there. In your mind, you will think you're in this virtual world. STEM draws many similarities from films such as The Matrix. This, however, has gone awry, as Lily, as well as a handful of other Mobius agents, have gone missing inside the STEM's idyllic town of Union. Sebastian then sees this as an opportunity to rescue Lily. Sebastian is then greeted by a nightmare version of Union, where the population have either been killed or turned into monsters. STEM can warp the minds and use a person's fears and desires to warp people into nightmarish creatures. As Sebastian wanders Union, he comes across other survivors who help point him in the right direction. During his search for Lily, Sebastian contends with more powerful beings and creatures. As Sebastian chases down Lily, more obstacles present themselves. Some of these are a little bit too close to home for Sebastian too. A lot of questions are answered as the game goes on, and it results in a very touching ending. The story of The Evil Within 2 could be confusing to some. The whole concept of STEM and the worlds being created in minds is both a weakness and strength of the story. Having played the first game and reading the files can help a player understand the mechanics behind the STEM machines. The story does start off slow, but picks up as soon as you start experiencing STEM. Sebastian is considered a weak protagonist by a lot of people, but I had a soft spot for him. He is a walking cliché, but in some respects, I enjoyed the grizzled, disillusioned ex-cop cliché. The remaining cast are a little bit wooden at times, which is a shame, but it didn't detract from the enjoyment of the story. In a way, the dialogue of all the characters gives a horror B-movie feel, which was kind of endearing. However, the pace of the story is twofold. The first half is a fairly slow affair, which can add and build on the horror aspects of the game. The second, though, moves at a much quicker pace, and is slightly more linear. All in all, though, the game did manage to keep its horror vibe throughout. I just felt it was slightly better in the first half than the second half. The Evil Within 2 remains very similar to what you experienced in the previous game in terms of gameplay. At its core, it's a survival horror game in the third person. You must conserve supplies, ammo and health items while trying to battle your way through the semi-open worlds you encounter. Normally survival horror games are quite linear in their level design, but The Evil Within 2 has expanded upon this idea, giving us areas such as Union that could be considered pseudo-open world. It allows players to take on their objectives in a number of different ways, in almost any order they want. If you have supplies, by all means go in guns a-blazing. However, if you're on the harder difficulties, it may be better to take a stealth approach. It's actually a game design that I would hope to see more of in future survival horror games. Maybe not going full on open world, but just giving you the option of choice. Gunplay is a little bit clunky for lack of a better term. Precision shots with most weapons can be tricky, and I find myself often falling back on weapons like the shotgun for close range or the sniper rifle if I had time and distance on my side. Returning is the Warden crossbow, a tool that comes in handy thanks to the variety of bolts it can use. As a player who favours stealth, there are also numerous stealth options to take on opponents silently and also conserve supplies. You will also be able to use different environmental hazards to your advantage, such as oil spills, explosive barrels, or pools of water that you can utilise when you have a handy electric bolt at hand. It can really make a difference when cleaning out multiple targets. Enemies can range from simple zombie-esque enemies to supernatural elemental creatures. The highlight for me was personally a supernatural creature called the Anima that seemed to haunt Sebastian specifically. On top of that, I was playing this on the PS4, and fighting this enemy utilised the controller speaker. Basically, as this ghost stalks you, it would sing through the controller speaker at you, making for a creepy experience. Enemies can, in some respects, be smart. If they spot you, they will search around for you for a short time. They will lose interest eventually, but there is some AI behind them. They can also be quite erratic, making early stealth tactics difficult. Enemies are also not a pushover, and if you're not tackling them with care, then they can quickly take out Sebastian. Stealth in The Evil Within 2 is one of the safer options if you want to conserve ammo and items. The game gives you plenty of options to take on most weaker foes with stealth options, and I would highly recommend it. Sebastian, like in The Evil Within, can upgrade himself and his weaponry. This is done via weapon parts and the ever appealing green gel. With this you can make weapons stronger, give Sebastian more health, make him better at stealth, or give him new abilities, such as being able to stealth kill from around corners. There is also a mild crafting system that helps Sebastian create more ammo and items for himself. This can be either done at workbenches found around Union or on the fly, although doing it on the fly means it will cost more materials. As you are taking on the larger areas in Union, Sebastian will have access to a communicator to talk to Kidman and other survivors. With this device you can also track objectives or go exploring for items. The Evil Within 2 also includes side quests alongside the overall critical plot quest. These are given by other survivors you find in Union. They can eventually lead to new items and discoveries, giving you more of an incentive to go exploring. Returning from the first game is the stamina bar. Unfortunately, Sebastian cannot run indefinitely. His sprint is dictated by a stamina gauge. However, this I found was not as annoying as it was in the first game. The game can be tough though. Even Shinji Mikami, the game's producer, recommends casual difficulty. I played it on survival difficulty, but I utilised stealth a lot and I didn't find it too hard, especially after you've upgraded Sebastian a few times. However, the difficulty, as well as how long you spend exploring and doing side quests, will result in how long it takes to complete the game. However, once you are finished, you have the option to go for New Game Plus or even harder difficulties. Whilst the gameplay can lead to horror moments, the best way to scare or make your audience's skin crawl is to set the right atmosphere and get their minds working. Through clever use of lighting, character designs, sound and other effects, the world of The Evil Within 2 is unsettling and nightmarish. Also, through the use of editing and environments, the developers have been able to produce something that is unsettling on a cognitive level, with rooms changing, environments warping, and the illusion that Sebastian's mind is always playing tricks on him. It's commendable, as this sort of psychological horror is not easy to pull off in gaming. Looking at The Evil Within 2's regular graphical prowess though, the models are average for this generation, but the lighting does help hide this. Voice acting is a little stiff at times. In a way, it reminds me of anime dubs and B-horror movies. Despite that though, I still had a real soft spot for Sebastian. The soundtrack is a mix of melodies that help add to the creepy atmosphere. It also ebbs and flows well with the story. Overall, I was pleased with the experience The Evil Within 2 provided. It seems to have built on the foundations left over by the first game. It has improved many of the gameplay, story and presentation aspects. While the story still shows signs of being overly complicated and full of stereotyped characters, it is still more structured than the previous game. Whilst the story may start off a little bit stiff, by the end I had really warmed up to the characters. Gameplay has been improved upon, it now gives us more choice in how we want to play. Rare in a horror game. Sometimes if a horror game gives us too much options, it can detract from the horror elements. The presentation though helps bring the horror elements to light, allowing the game to horrify and disturb you. If you are a fan of horror games, then I can recommend this one. Those of you who missed out on the first game and jumped straight into The Evil Within 2 may be lost at some of the characters and terminology used. But if you can get past that, you will still find something to enjoy in The Evil Within 2. Horror as a genre in gaming is a tricky one, and psychological horror even more so. The Evil Within 2, while not perfect, is a step in the right direction for the genre, providing us with a horror experience that tests our survival skills as well as our mind. Anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing you our video review of The Evil Within 2. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.